Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going deep on the ideas of John Rawls.
Oh, Rawls.
Yeah, the,
Yeah.
the philosopher who spent his whole life thinking about justice.
Yeah.
You sent in some excerpts from this book, Rawls, Il filósofo de la justicia
Oh,
by
yeah.
Andrew Puyol.
Great book.
It looks at how Rawls thought we could build a fairer society, which is something we're all thinking about a lot these days, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with all the inequality and globalization and everything.
Yeah, especially now.
Yeah.
It's really interesting how
Yeah.
Rawls' own life, shaped his ideas. Puyol talks about how Rawls lost two of his brothers when he was a kid
Oh, wow.
to illnesses that, well,
Oh, no.
he actually spread them to them unintentionally.
Oh, that's awful.
It's tragic, yeah.
Yeah.
And it made him, really understand how much luck plays a role in life.
Right.
And that led him to believe that, we have to create systems that help those who are less fortunate. It makes you think that if something random could just change your whole life,
Right.
wouldn't you want there to be some kind of safety net?
Absolutely.
And that seems to be the core of what Rawls is saying.
Yeah.
A just society is one that takes care of
Yeah.
its most vulnerable people.
You got it.
Right.
He was really against utilitarianism,
Oh, utilitarian.
that whole maximizing happiness no matter what thing.
Right, right.
He thought that could end up sacrificing individual rights for some greater good.
Oh, like in that example from the book?
Yes.
Where the school is like, oh, we're going to fund all these extracurriculars for everyone.
Yeah.
But those two kids who need extra help, sorry.
Tough luck.
Right. Is that really fair, though?
Rawls would say absolutely not.
Right.
Denying those kids the support they need, that's like violating their right to a fair chance.
Yeah.
And this is where his famous veil of ignorance comes in.
Ah, the veil.
Yeah,
It's a trippy idea,
it is.
but I think I'm starting to get it.
Okay, good.
It's like, imagine you're designing healthcare, right?
Okay.
But you don't know if you're going to be healthy or sick.
Right.
Wouldn't you want everyone to have coverage just in case?
Exactly.
Right.
Behind this veil, you don't know anything about yourself.
Right.
Your social status, talents, beliefs, none of it. So you have to make rules that would work for anyone.
Makes you think about things differently, huh?
It does.
So Rawls is saying we need to decide what a just society is before we can even talk about what a good life is.
That's the idea.
Wow, I never thought about it like that.
It's powerful, right?
Yeah, you need a level playing field
Right.
before you can even start playing the game.
He says that those principles of justice, they're like the foundation. They keep things impartial and stable.
Okay.
And then within that framework,
Right.
people can figure out their own good life stuff.
So how does all of this actually, work in the real world?
Okay, so Rawls has these core principles of justice.
Okay.
He lays out three main ones.
Okay.
The first one is pretty simple. Everyone deserves basic liberties.
Right, like freedom of speech and all that.
Exactly. Freedom of thought, political participation.
Okay.
The second principle is fair equality of opportunity. Everyone should have a chance to succeed.
Right.
But we need to make sure everyone's starting from a similar place.
No more it's who you know kind of thing.
Nope. Just talent and effort.
I like it.
And then the third principle.
Yeah.
This is where it gets interesting and maybe a little controversial.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued.
It's called the difference principle.
The difference principle.
It says that it's okay to have some inequality,
Oh.
but only if it helps those who are the least well off.
So not all inequality is bad, but it
Okay.
can't just be like the rich get richer and that's it.
Okay.
It has to benefit everyone, especially those who are struggling.
Exactly. Imagine a tax system where the more you earn, the more you contribute. But that money goes directly to things like better schools and healthcare for those who need it most.
I see. But doesn't that discourage hard work?
That's a common critique.
Yeah.
But Rawls would say that even talent, it comes from your circumstances.
Oh, interesting.
You don't choose your genes or the environment you grow up in.
Right.
So, yeah, effort matters, but the system itself needs to be fair too.
So just because you were lucky enough to have
Right.
great teachers or a supportive family doesn't mean you should get all the reward.
Exactly. Especially if it means others are left behind.
This is a lot to take in.
It is.
We've gone from Rawls' own life
Yeah.
to his ideas about justice, and we're just getting started.
I know, right?
Stay tuned, because we're going to dive even deeper
Yeah,
into
it's-
all this, and we'll talk about how it applies to the world today.
Can't wait.
So stick around.
Welcome back. So we got a good grasp of, like, Rawls' main principles.
Yeah, those core ideas.
But how do we actually, you know, put them into practice?
Yeah, it can't just be, like, good intentions, right?
Exactly. Rawls believed in institutions.
Institutions?
You know, like laws, policies, social structures, all those things that, like, shape our society.
So it's not enough to just, like, think about fairness.
Nope.
We need actual systems in place.
That's right. He called them just institutions.
Just institutions.
And he thought they were like the backbone of a just society.
Okay, but how do we actually create those?
Ah, that's where the original position comes in again.
Oh, right, the thought experiment with the veil.
Yep, and that's how we figure out what principles should guide our institutions.
So those people behind the veil, they're like designing a society from scratch.
Yeah, but they don't know anything about themselves.
Right, no idea about their social status, their talents.
Nothing. It could all be totally different when the veil lifts.
So they're forced to think about what's fair for everyone.
Exactly. Because they might end up being anyone.
It's like designing a board game, but you don't know which piece you'll be playing.
That's a great analogy. You wouldn't want a game where one player always wins, right?
No way. It's got to be fair.
Exactly. That's what the original position is all about.
Okay, so the original position gives us these principles.
Yep.
But then how do those actually become, like, institutions?
Well, Rawls says institutions should embody those principles.
Embody. Okay.
So, for example, take fair equality of opportunity.
Right, that everyone should have a chance to succeed.
Right. So our education system should reflect that.
Okay.
Every child should have access to quality education, no matter their background.
So we're talking about, like, investing in underprivileged schools, supporting students with disabilities.
Making sure everyone has a shot, no matter where they come from.
I like it.
And that's just one example, right? We can apply this to healthcare, criminal justice, even our political system.
So it's not just about individual choices. It's about creating a system that's just, like, at its core.
That's exactly what Rawls was after.
A society where everyone can thrive.
And flourish, yeah.
Yeah.
No matter what hand they were dealt.
That's a beautiful idea.
It is.
But I imagine actually building these just institutions, that's got to be tough.
Oh, for sure. There will always be different ideas about what's fair.
And different people wanting different things.
Exactly. And that's why Rawls is still so relevant. He gives us a framework for thinking about these tough questions.
Okay, so let's go back to that third principle for a minute.
Yeah.
The difference principle, remember?
Right.
The one that says inequality is okay.
As long as it benefits the least well off.
Right. That's the part people get hung up on, I think.
It can be hard to wrap your head around.
Because some people say, like, why bother working hard if the benefits are just going to be redistributed?
Yeah, that's a common argument.
So what did Rawls say about that?
Well, he understood that incentives matter.
Right. People need motivation.
But he also said society shouldn't just reward the lucky ones.
The people who are born with advantages.
Exactly. It should create a system where everyone has a chance to benefit, even if it means redistributing some of the wealth.
So it's not about punishing success.
Right.
It's more like making sure that success lifts everyone up.
Yeah, like a rising tide that lifts all boats.
Okay, that makes sense.
We want everyone to have a chance to prosper, not just a select few.
So it's not about everyone ending up with the exact same amount. It's about having a fair shot and then making sure everyone benefits from, like, the overall success of society.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And Rawls thought the difference principle was the key to achieving that balance.
This is making me think about, like, the whole world.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have huge differences in wealth between countries, too.
We do.
So did Rawls talk about global justice?
He did. It gets even more complex when you're dealing with different countries,
I bet.
each with its own government and goals. We'll talk about all that after the break. Stay with us.
Okay, so global justice, huh? This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
It does.
Like, how do you take these ideas about fairness and apply them to, like, the whole world of different countries?
Yeah, and Rawls actually wrote a whole book about this, The Law of Peoples. And he doesn't just, like, copy and paste his ideas from domestic justice onto the global stage.
Right.
He gets that it's way more complicated.
So he's not saying, like, let's have a world government that makes all the rules.
No, not at all. He still thinks countries should be able to govern themselves.
Right. They should have their own sovereignty.
Exactly. But he also says that doesn't mean, like, anything goes.
Right. There have to be some rules of the road, right?
Exactly. He was inspired by Kant, you know, and how Kant thought about different nations coexisting peacefully.
Okay.
Even if they have totally different ways of doing things.
Right, right.
So Rawls proposes, like, a second original position.
Wait, another one.
Yeah, but this time, it's representatives from different peoples who are behind the veil.
Oh, I see. So instead of individuals, it's like whole nations.
Exactly. And just like before,
Yeah.
they don't know the specifics of their people.
So they don't know how rich or poor their country is?
Right. Or their resources or their geographic location. Nothing.
Makes sense. So what kind of principles do they come up with? I'm so curious.
Well, they agree on things like respecting treaties,
Okay, that's important.
not attacking each other,
Obviously.
and a duty to help other peoples who are really struggling.
Okay, so like the basics of being a decent global citizen.
Pretty much.
But here's my question.
Yeah.
Remember the difference principle?
Of course.
Does that apply globally too?
Ah, good question.
Like, would Rawls say that rich countries have to constantly give money to poor countries?
That's a big debate, even today.
Yeah,
Rawls says that, yeah, global inequality is a huge problem.
right.
But he doesn't think the solution is just constant wealth redistribution.
Really? I'm surprised.
I know, it seems kind of counterintuitive.
It does, because he's all about fairness.
Right.
So why does he draw the line there?
He says that a lot of the differences in wealth between countries, they come from things happening within those countries.
Like their own internal policies and stuff.
Yeah. Their political systems, their economic decisions, their culture even.
So it's not always about one country taking advantage of another.
Right. It's more complicated than that.
Mm-hmm.
He gives this example of two countries.
Okay.
One's super industrialized,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one chooses to live a more simple pastoral lifestyle.
Okay. Interesting.
And he says, well, is it really fair to make the industrialized country pay for the other's choices?
Oh, that's a good point. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. So he's saying countries have the right to choose their own path.
Even if it means they end up with less wealth.
Exactly. But of course, not everyone agrees with him.
Right. I bet some people think he's not going far enough.
Exactly. There are lots of folks, especially those who call themselves cosmopolitans, who say we have a moral obligation to all individuals, no matter what country they live in.
Right. Like we're all citizens of the world.
Yeah. And they'd probably push for more global redistribution to really tackle poverty.
So it sounds like Rawls is trying to find a balance between respecting national sovereignty and also making sure we're taking care of each other globally.
Exactly. And that's a tension we're still dealing with today,
Oh, for sure. With things like foreign aid and trade deals and all that.
Absolutely.
Wow. This has been a really fascinating deep dive.
It has.
We started with Rawls' own life,
Right.
then got into his ideas about justice within a society.
Yep.
And now we've even talked about global justice.
It's amazing how relevant his work still is.
It really is. He gives us so much to think about, even all these years later.
He really makes you question what a fair world would actually look like.
Yeah, he does. Well, that's all the time we have for today. But this deep dive has definitely given us plenty to ponder.
I know, I'm still thinking about all of this.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of John Rawls.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.